Here we're going to take a look at the track All My Life, which was the first single from the band's fourth album, One by One. We're going to start off with the two-bar pattern at the beginning of the tune. Obviously, we've got the long guitar vocal intro, which is 24 bars. So when the drums enter, they come in with this two-bar pattern. It's based around an eighth note feel, with the bass drum filling in all the eighth notes apart from the 2 and 4 on the snare. And then we've got this punctuation that I'm sure you're familiar with and appears throughout the track, where we're crashing the and of beat 3 and the and of beat 4. So here's that part played slowly. So notice that after those crashes, we don't hit the downbeat of the next bar. The bass drum actually plays the and of beat 1. So it's not this. So we have that fill that appears at the end of that 8-bar section, where we finish that 16th note fill on the and of beat 4. So we then don't crash beat 1, we crash the and of beat 1, which gives it that slightly sort of anticipated feel. And let me play that the last 2 bars of that intro section and the first 2 bars of the verse now, so you can hear how that joins together. So notice we've got a slightly different feel now in the verse. The hi-hats have closed up slightly, so you can clearly hear all of the eighth notes. And now the notes we were crashing on the cymbals, we now play as open hi-hat notes. And the bass drum parts become simplified. We're essentially playing groups of 2 on the bass drum, so the 3 and the and of 3 of the first bar, and the 1 and the and of 1 of the second bar. So once again, here's our verse feel. At the end of each verse, as we make the transition over into the chorus, the first time we've just got a flam on beat 4 of the 2-bar break before the chorus. The second time, we've got this fill, and I'll count you into it as we move into the chorus. So now let's take a look at that chorus pattern. Over onto the ride cymbal, on the bell of the ride cymbal, and we're playing, here's the bass drum and snare pattern isolated to begin with. Now, as well as crashing beat 1 in this bar, we've got a rhythm to look at on the ride cymbal here. So what we're playing is we're going to play the 3 and the and of 3 with the bass drum and leave the left hand to play beat 4 on its own. So it sounds like this. I'll play it slowly at first. So here's the ride cymbal on its own. The chorus is actually a 7-bar chorus. So after we've played that 2-bar pattern twice, we get two simple 1-bar fills, and then in the 7th bar, it's up onto the crash cymbal. So here's the whole of the 7-bar chorus, just played slowly at first, and then I'll play it up to speed. After playing through the verse-chorus sequence twice, we then head to the middle breakdown section. So we get the guitar for 8 bars on its own, then the vocals enter for another 8 bars, and then the drums enter with this pattern, where we're playing 8th notes on the hi-hat, and we're playing all of the bass drum notes, all of the 8th notes, apart from beats 2 and 4 on the snare. So basically following that chugging line of the guitar. And that sounds like this. So again, it's very similar to that part that we had on the intro. If I was to add the snare there, you can hear the kind of feel that would create. It's actually quite quick, that pattern, so it can take a bit of concentration to get that bass drum to lock in there. This is the kind of tempo we're looking at. After 8 bars, we introduce the snare, but it's not in those 2 and 4 spaces. It's actually onto beat 3. And so now we're going to stop playing the bass drum now on beat 3 as well. So we get this pattern. And notice here that the right hand is moving off the hi-hat onto the snare to give us a flam on beat 3. So here it is slowly. So here's 4 bars of the part without the snare and then with the snare. After 15 bars of that feel, where we've got the snare drum added on beat 3, we end on beat 3 of the 16th bar. So here are the last 4 bars of that section. Then we're rocking out with 2 and 4 on the snare, filling in all the 8th notes apart from 2 and 4 on the bass drum, and with the open hi-hats. And here's that feel. I'm going to play the first 4 bars of this next section. At the end of the next 4 bars, we've got this fill, essentially, where we're crashing along with all of the bass drum notes. And you can move these between all the crash cymbals. And so here's the next 4 bars. After another 7 bars of that 2 and 4 feel with the bass drum playing all of the 8th notes, we've got the fill that takes us into the final chorus section. And here's that fill played slowly. It's just between the rack tom and the snare, essentially, and sounds like this. And so here's that in context. Then we're into the final chorus, which is a double chorus, so that's 2 times the 7 bars. And then the tune ends with a feel that's basically like the intro feel where the drums enter at the beginning. So let's take it from the second of those last choruses into that outro feel. Here's what that sounds like. So the tune finishes with those crashes which are on the end of beat 1 and beat 2 of what would be the 9th bar. So basically we're playing an 8-bar section, and then we're playing those 2 crashes at the end, which are, as I say, on the end of beat 1 and beat 2. So here's the final 4 bars of the tune. And that concludes our look at all the parts for All My Life.